Hey y'all, welcome back to the Laid Back Homestead. Today we are in the kitchen and I'm bringing you fast ways to preserve your pepper harvest. These easy recipes will hopefully inspire you to turn your pepper harvest into fast freezer meals. If you saw our harvest video, you'll probably recognize all of these peppers. And if you didn't catch that one, I'll link it at the end so you can see all the varieties I've been growing. Also, if you saw my life update video, you know I had surgery this past Monday, and honestly, these freezer meals have been such a lifesaver this week while I've been resting and recovering. First recipe up is pickled pepperoncinis. Now this one isn't technically a freezer meal on its own, but it's a key freezer ingredient for some of my favorite dinners. I love using these in the Mississippi pot roast or Mississippi chicken recipes, and honestly, without pepperoncinis, those recipes are just not the same. To make these easy refrigerator pickled pepperoncinis, I like to keep the brine super simple. Just water, vinegar, a little sugar, some garlic, and a few black peppercorns. You can definitely add your own favorite seasonings or spices, but this is my go-to recipe when I want quick, flavorful pickles. And as always, I'll have the full recipe listed in the description box below this video. The prep for this is super simple. Just wash your peppers and slice them however you like. Now, since I usually use whole peppers in my recipes, I like to make a small slit in each one. This helps the brine soak all the way in, and it also keeps the peppers from floating on top of the jar, so they'll sink down nicely into the brine. I'm also adding a sliced onion in with the peppers for a little extra flavor. While my husband is chopping for me, I went ahead and started working on the brine, which all I do is add the brining ingredients, water, vinegar, sugar, salt, to a saucepan and bring to a boil, and I just boil this until everything is dissolved. While your brine is heating up, this is the perfect time to add your peppers and anything else you're pickling, along with your spices to the jar. I like to use these old restaurant soup containers because they can handle the heat from the brine, and they freeze really well too. For spices, I'm keeping it simple with chopped garlic and black peppercorns. Once your brine is hot and all the sugar and salt are dissolved, just pour it right over the peppers and onions, then let everything cool down. These need to sit in the fridge for about 3 days before you eat them, or freeze them for future recipes. Using a spoon, we like to push the peppers down to help them absorb the brine into the slits that we put in earlier. We'll do this a couple of times before we put them into the fridge. Our second freezer meal couldn't be any easier: chicken fajitas. If you've ever find yourself with a surplus of peppers, this is one of the fastest ways to get them prepped and turned into an easy freezer meal. All I'm using today is a red onion, a mix of our homegrown peppers, chicken of course, a little olive oil, and some pre-mixed fajita seasoning. Of course, you can use your own homemade blend if you prefer, but this is what I have on hand, and since we're racing to get these meals prepped before my surgery, we're rolling with it. Now, you can also use any protein you like for this recipe. My husband and myself typically stick with chicken or shrimp just because that's our preference. 1 pack of chicken, 1 red onion, and a handful of peppers will make 2 meals for us. We like to enjoy this meal a couple of different ways. The first is the classic way, served up as traditional fajitas. The other way we love it is as a fajita bowl, where we can add rice and extra veggies like corn or black beans. And if we're in the mood for something lighter, it's also really good served over a bed of lettuce as a fresh fajita salad. Preparing this freezer meal is super simple. Just gather your ingredients, wash your peppers, and slice everything into similar sizes so it all cooks evenly. Then toss everything into a bag or container, drizzle in your olive oil, sprinkle on the fajita seasoning, and give it a good smush to mix it all together. Once that's done, label your bags, and that's it. They're ready for the freezer and waiting for an easy dinner night. You can cook this any way you like: stovetop, baked in the oven, or even in the air fryer. Just take it out the night before to thaw in the refrigerator and you're ready to go. Recipe number 3 is stuffed or unstuffed pepper soup. You will need ground meat, peppers of your choice, tomato sauce, crushed tomatoes, beef broth, onion, garlic, Italian seasoning, and since we have a guguzza, I'm throwing that in there as well to bulk up the soup. You will also need cooked rice, but since I'm freezing this meal, I will make the rice at the time of serving and then add it in at that time. So the first step is to brown your ground beef. Yes, I am in my pajamas while I'm doing this, and yes, I am using my one good arm to get this accomplished. Now, with soups with multiple steps, I am a huge fan of seasoning every step of the way. So I'm seasoning my ground beef right now with both the Italian seasoning as well as some salt to infuse some flavor. While your ground beef is cooking, this is a good time to chop up all the veggies you'll be adding to the soup. I'm using my chopper today because I only have one functioning hand at the moment. And honestly, it's the only way I can get somewhat consistent cuts right now. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up all the onions and peppers and then add them straight into my soup container. Now add in any seasonings you like to your soup container. I'm starting with some chopped garlic, then adding in the tomato sauce and stewed tomatoes. This recipe makes a big batch of soup, so make sure you've got a large container ready to go. If you prefer, you can cook everything down on the stove first, let it cool, and then freeze it in individual portions or portion sizes that fit your family. That works great too, but since I knew we'd be eating this soup later in the week, I just combined everything together and planned to cook it fresh the day we were ready to eat. Now I'm just going to add in one more round of seasonings, again with the Italian seasoning and some salt, and we will take our cooked beef and add that to the soup container as well. Lastly, we'll pour in our beef broth. I originally planned to add some squash to this soup, but once I saw how full the container was getting, I knew we'd have to pivot. So after the soup settled, I popped the lid on and tucked it into the fridge and decided to save the squash for our last recipe instead. Of course, if you've got a little more room in your soup container, go ahead and toss in any extra veggies you like to boost the flavor and nutrition. Our last recipe for today couldn't be any easier: sausage and veggie packs. This is one of my favorite ways to use up garden produce. Just pick whatever vegetables you have on hand and pair them with your favorite sausage. Add a drizzle of olive oil, sprinkle on your favorite seasonings, and that's it. You're good to go. These freeze beautifully and can be cooked in the oven or on the stove, or as my kids prefer, right in the air fryer. It's a simple, hearty meal that brings both protein and veggies to the table in just a few minutes on a busy night. For this pack, we're using up some of our garden squash, our gugutza, along with an onion, a few of our peppers, and a little garlic and onion powder for seasoning. I've made this recipe so many times with all different kinds of squash, so feel free to get creative and make it your own with whatever veggies your family loves. Putting it together also couldn't be easier. Just slice your vegetables into whatever size you like and add them to a freezer bag. Drizzle in some olive oil, sprinkle on your seasonings, and give the bag a good smush to mix everything together. Once you label your bags, they're ready for the freezer. These little meals have been absolute lifesavers for me over the years, and I love making them. It's such a simple way to use up your garden harvest without letting anything go to waste. Also, make sure your bag is sealed really well when you start the smushing process. As you can see, we had a small explosion, but once we got everything cleaned up, we were good to go. And there we have it, 5 complete freezer meals plus our pickled pepperoncinis, which will go towards making another 2 meals down the road. This all came together so quickly, about 2 hours total with both of us working together, and now we've got 2 meals of chicken fajitas, 2 hearty stuffed pepper soups, and 1 sausage and veggie pack ready to go. I'm so thankful we got these stocked up before my surgery, and honestly, it feels so good knowing we've got real homemade meals waiting in the freezer. I hope this gives you a little inspiration to get creative with your own harvest and make life just a bit easier on those busy or low energy days. If you missed our pepper harvest video, I'll have it linked at the end. That's where you can see all the varieties we used today. Thanks so much for spending a little time with me here in the kitchen, and until next time, stay blessed.